Hi guys. I want to talk to you about the word cissexual. I'm sure almost everybody understands it, but it's a term which got repopularized by Juliaserano in the book The Whipping Girl. And if you're around trans activist politics at all, it's very, very much the word of the moment. So Rachel on my blog, she had a critique of my critique of Cissexual, and I would say she had two main points. One is that they're useful theoretical terms, and it's an argument that I see a lot of. It's not okay to just have trans and not trans. You need to equal the playing field by giving not trans a name as well. And the other point that she is making is about privilege, and then she's talking about her own privilege that she experiences being genderqueer by being comfortable in her body. So I would like, so the first one, definitional, I definitely get that it would be good to have a word to signify people who are not transgendered. I find a word to signify not transsexual really getting into, I don't know, identity politics, of saying, that we need this word because transgenders have some privilege that transsexual don't have, and that needs to be called. And I would almost say that that trans has become a synonym for transsexual, and cis is being used as a synonym for cissexual. In a forum recently I was called a cis male, which only makes sense if cis means cissexual and not cisgendered. I don't see cisgendered used very, very much. Cissexual is much, much more, and it's being used in a weaponized way, of kind of like calling somebody, white upper class or something. It's a way of saying that the other person's viewpoint is biased, that it's not as valid as your own. And again, the use for a neutral term, but I don't believe that it's neutral anymore. Any more than the term colored was a neutral term. It got a meaning because of the way it was used on the street, and that's how language evolves. And I've seen cissexual used in a political and a disenfranchising way too many times recently to buy the argument that it's neutral. So another point is the privilege. I'm not sure what the relative privilege is. And I can imagine maybe as a non-passing or genderqueer somatically female person, it might be different than being somatically male and not passing. Because I feel like if I go out on the street and express myself, that my life is very much in danger, and perhaps more in danger being transgender and intrinsically not passing than as a passing transsexual. There's passing privilege here as well, which certainly not all transsexuals have, but many do. Many do. So I think privilege is sticky. It's not just one group has privilege and the other group doesn't have privilege. The whole hierarchy of oppression. Another point is, at the Queer Arts Festival or in Frameline, as a somatically male gender variant, I didn't see anybody like me making films or speaking or telling about their experience. My experience as a genderqueer somatic male was completely invisible, whereas the experience of trans women was very much everywhere. So I think uncritical throwing around of privilege is just not good. And then the last point I'd like to bring up is, I think when you start to make trans cis, especially, we're trans, they're cis, an unproblematic boundary, those boundaries are ambiguous. Those boundaries are always ambiguous. And I think by making this opposition trans cis, and the way it's being used on the street, the way it's being used to demarcate territory and groups, that I think it creates artificial ontologies. It makes transsexual into an ontology and a category which pre-exists language, perhaps. As something that's obvious to everyone. And I feel that the category is a social accomplishment. So making this unproblematic trans cis kind of division, I think there's a politics behind that needs to be examined. So thank you. That's what I have to say about Cissexual for now.